Hi everyone, welcome to this lesson on Ed Gerhard's arrangement of The Water is Wide. As always, only the first part will be released on YouTube. For full access, please head over to my Patreon page or my brand new website. If you are looking for the tab in notation file, then look up the song on my website and order the tab through the link over there and you will get a nice discount. So I recently did a tutorial on Chet Atkins's version of Autumn Leaves, and that tune features an intro that I thought required a classical guitar. Since my current classical guitar has a broken neck, I started looking for a new one, and I soon zoomed in on the nylon string models by Furk Guitars. While looking for some sound demos, I bumped upon a video by Mr. Van Sliedrecht playing The Water is Wide, the tune we are about to cover today. And it looks like Mr. Van Sliedrecht is a friend of the channel, so I hope I don't scare him too much with this introduction. Maybe just for once in Dutch. Dag meneer Van Sliedrecht, bedankt voor de inspiratie voor deze les. Het is uw covervideo die me ertoe heeft aangezet het nummer op te zoeken en verder uit te werken. Back to English and the tune then. The Water is Wide is a folk song of Scottish origin with suspected versions dating as far back as the early 18th century. Mr. Gerhard arranged the tune with all the respect such an iconic tune deserves, and his approach to the song can be explained in one of his own quotes: "I just play the tune and I try to stay out of the way of it." He's not using the song as a vehicle to showcase his latest few tricks, but he sticks to the melody and tries to add as much atmosphere to the tune as possible. Leaving out all the technical trickery also means that, yes, it is not that difficult to play. You don't need to be a Tommy Emmanuel level guitar wizard to pull this one off. The main challenge is the delicate nature of the song, and you will want to get each and every note to sound clean and clear. The lesson is aimed at more or less novice fingerstyle players, and I'm taking my time, going over verse A and B in detail before picking up speed when addressing the variations and the ending. Don't let the total runtime of the video intimidate you. This is not an expert level tune. As a last pointer, Mr. Gerhard plays this tune 3 times, slowing down and speeding up throughout the song. To make sure you know exactly where each and every note needs to land, I'm sticking to a steady sense of time for most of the lesson. That is all. Ready? Off you go. Okay, straight to playing then. The guitar is in drop D tuning, lowering the low E string down 1 full step, and I'm using a capo on the 2nd fret like Mr. Gerhard is doing. The capo isn't essential. Normally I like to do the tutorials without the capo on the guitar, but there are a few stretchy chord voicings in the song, and having the capo on the 2nd fret makes them instantly a lot easier. I think the song sounds better without the capo, giving the guitar a little bit more bottom end, and I suspect the song would even sound great on an acoustic that is tuned down even further. So if you ever see a cover version of me popping up with a really low tuning, that means that I decided to chase that suspicion. Now let's dive straight into the intro. There are only 2 main sections in the song, the intro and the verse, consisting of 2 8-bar parts, so there isn't that much core material to learn. Let's have a look at that gorgeous sounding intro. Here we go. Doesn't that just sound amazing? Just the whole atmosphere straight from the first bar. And it's not that difficult to play. Now, I'm going to admit I'm changing a few fingerings left and right compared to Mr. Gerhard's original, just because I think they are a little bit easier and a little bit more efficient to get a nice and long sustain going through the whole intro. You start with a low open E string, sounding like a D, but I will probably always refer to this string as the low E string, open A string, and then an open E string on top together with the index finger on the 2nd fret on the G string. 1, 2, and pulling off only on the G string from the 2nd fret to the open string as well. 1, 2, 3, 3rd beat, middle finger, 3rd fret on the B string, ring finger, 4th fret on the D string. While you put this down, you try to have all the other strings sustain as long as possible. So be really careful putting down those extra fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. So after that 6th interval, another low E string and another open A string, but this time the timing shifts. The first time around you play the open E string on the beat. The second time around it's the A string that lands on the beat. So there's a little timing displacement going on in the intro. That picking pattern is always shifting throughout those 2 first bars. One more time while I count along. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. On the last 8th note of the bar, you drop the index finger down on the 2nd fret on the D string. You remove the ring finger and you play the 2nd fret on the D string together with an open E string, and again you pull off to an open D string. That is what you're going for. I like to keep all fingers down as long as possible. Mr. Gerhard will often let go of that middle finger to perform the pull-off on the D string. So that is a little bit easier, but it offers a little bit less sustain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 2nd fret on the G string, index finger, 4th fret on the A string, again 6th interval, plucking both strings at the same time, and again to a low open E string. Index finger to the 2nd fret on the A string together with an open G string and an open B string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. On the 3rd beat, just a low E string again. 2nd fret on the G string, you just repick that, and then you play G string, B string and D string at the same time, rolling across the strings while putting down. Mr. Gerhard uses the ring finger on the B string. I think it's a little bit more efficient to keep down the middle finger, so going for this, because that allows you to keep everything down while moving into the next bar and having that note sustain really long. If you go for this, it's a little bit easier to play, but you do have to let go of that D note as you transfer into the next bar. So either you do this, Mr. Gerhard's original fingerings, and then you have to let go of the ring finger from that D note, 3rd fret on the B string, let go in order to transfer into the next bar. If you use the middle finger, you can keep that down and let that note sustain into the next bar. So the fingering I'm probably going to use middle finger, and now keep it down when you transfer into the next bar because you're going to play a full repeat. So all the way up to this point you can keep the middle finger down. So one more time, a bit more up to speed. Now you're going to see that the only variations that pop up in the intro are all the way at the end of that 2-bar loop that you're going to play. So the first time around it was just bass note and then the G chord. Now Mr. Gerhard plays the bass note, the chord without the ring finger or without that third fret, and then adding the third fret, middle finger or ring finger, whatever you decide to use, just after the chord. So 3 and 4 and just that, maybe that second bar loop, bars 3 and 4. To the open E string, and again another repeat, bars 5 and 6 now. And now all the way at the end is just on the 4th beat, 3rd fret on the B string, 2, an open G string. Again, Mr. Gerhard uses the ring finger. I think in this case it's a little bit easier to use the pinky, because now we're going to move on to the next chord, which is this, which is for most people probably going to be easier to play with the pinky here than with the ring finger. But again, see what works for you. You move into it. First I thought it was a B flat diminished chord, and by now I think it's actually a G minor 6th chord with a B flat down below in the bass. Basically an inversion, because that B flat is a chord tone. We're going to play an arpeggio. The chord goes like this: 1st fret index finger on the A string, middle finger 2nd fret on the D string, open G string, and then pinky or ring finger on the 3rd fret on the B string. Just going to arpeggiate. 2 times the exact same arpeggio, so we're plucking A string, G string, and B string at the same time, and then D string, G string, B string, and then just the same thing again a second time around. You keep the pinky and the middle finger down, and you remove the index finger, giving you a dominant sus4. Next arpeggio. So basically you're playing the same thing, A string, G string, and B string at the same time. D string, G string, and then removing the pinky for an open B string, and then together with, you can play the whole chord if you want to, you drop down the ring finger on the 2nd fret on the B string, giving you a dominant chord. And that is where we conclude the intro. So just those last 2 bars. And then Mr. Gerhard takes a break before actually playing the upbeat into the first verse. Cover that in the next part of the tutorial. Let me play that full intro one more time, slowly connecting all the dots. It's a repeat over and over again, except for the last beat of each second bar on that G over B chord. That is where most of the variations happen. Here we go. Hammer on as well in the end if you want to. And that was the full intro. It's a work of art, just having so much atmosphere with so little going on. Let me do the same thing again with the magnet on the guitar, giving you a good view on the picking hand, and then we're ready to dive into the verse. Here we go. So that was the take with the magnet. Now it's time to dive into the verse. The verse is something for part 2 of the tutorial. I'll see you there.